Welcome back. 9 times out of 10, when we report on a politician, especially a young one, leaving office, it revolves around their age, being voted out in some kind of a scandal maybe. But when it comes to State Senator Eva Burch, her resignation doesn't check any of those boxes. She is with us tonight after announcing her resignation just yesterday. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so it's probably been a whirlwind for you, although you probably knew about it before anyone else. What made you ultimately decide to step away?
Well, it's never an easy decision. This is something that we took very seriously. It took a lot of introspection, talking to my family, talking to my caucus, talking to people who I knew would be impacted by this decision. But ultimately, it really came down to two things. One of them is the partisanship in the legislature. It is very difficult for someone like me who wants to be effective, who wants to get things done, to be in a position in the Arizona Senate where I'm really prohibited from doing almost anything.
Are you prohibited because you're a Democrat?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. You know, Democrats had 200 bills that they sponsored in this legislative session, and I know that I think 4 of them have made their way through, even though 80% of the bills that we see are bipartisan bills. But they are all sponsored by Republicans because it's well understood that Democratic bills don't have a fair shake, they don't have a fair shot. But we represent about 250,000 Arizonans each, all of us. All of our voices deserve to be heard, but that isn't what's happening right now, and it's very frustrating to have to be a part of that and to be so stymied and so unable to represent the people who elected me to represent them and to speak for them.
And the other part was financial, which you rarely hear about.
Well, I think that you rarely hear about it because people are a little bit uncomfortable talking about it. I do have a reputation for talking about things that make a lot of people really uncomfortable. I don't have a hard time talking about it. It doesn't embarrass me. The fact of the matter is that it is very difficult to try to raise a family on what the legislature pays. And I understand that we're a working legislature and a lot of us do have jobs, but it's very difficult to find a position where you can really be totally missing in action for a good 5-6 months out of the year. And then we're campaigning much of the rest of the time because they're only 2-year terms. And so we've had a really hard time. I have downsized my home. I have changed jobs. I have done everything that I can. I've got nothing left to skim off the top.
We've come up with a graphic to show what legislators in other states make. So base pay in Arizona is $24,000. If you were willing to move to Alaska, you'd be making $84,000. In California, $128,000. Florida, about like Arizona, $29,000. New Hampshire, you don't want to go there. It's only $100. Out of all the states, Arizona probably falls somewhere in the middle. So in the end, was the frustration with this hyper-partisan gridlock not worth the money you were making?
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I think that if we had tied, it'd be a totally different situation for us. And it's really sort of interesting because the closer that we get to a tie, the more partisan it becomes because people on both sides are putting pressure on us to not work with each other. The Democratic Party is putting pressure not to work with the Republicans, just like the Republicans are putting pressure not to work with the Democrats because everybody's after those seats in those vulnerable districts.
Sure.
Everybody wants to be in control. And it's not because we're all bad people who want to get each other, but it's because everybody believes that their ideas are better.
And they're afraid of being maybe, partisaned out at the end of their term if they don't toe the company
Which
line.
absolutely happens. And we have seen that time again where individuals who are not leaning far enough into their party politics, especially in the Republican Party, are losing their seats and are being ousted.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about this. You will leave office with a very memorable moment that we covered and I'm sure all of your constituents remember and we're proud of you for. In 2022, you announced on the floor of the Senate that you were getting an abortion due to an unviable pregnancy. That had to be incredibly hard.
It was difficult in a number of ways because you know that you are opening yourself up to a lot of scrutiny, that people are going to have very strong opinions on it in both directions. I did not know just how much it was going to resonate with people and just how big the story was going to be. I would have worn something else that day. It became a much bigger story than I was anticipating. But I feel very comfortable, again, talking about that. I'm a little bit of an oversharer. I think we should talk about the things that maybe are difficult for people to stomach because it makes them a little squirmy, but it affects so many people's lives. My story resonated because it's common. What happened to me was common. It's predictable that pregnancies are going to fail, they're going to go wrong. And I was in a situation where I was going to have a miscarriage or I was going to terminate my pregnancy. That wasn't a difficult decision for me. I've had a number of miscarriages, incredibly unpleasant and more dangerous than the procedure that I had to terminate the pregnancy.
Well, I am sure your message resonated with many people. We now have abortion that has been legalized here, passed by the voters, and yesterday a judge ruled that the ban cannot take effect. It's unconstitutional, and I'm sure in some part you had something to do with that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a win for me. There was a lot of good work that I was able to accomplish in my time in the legislature. I'm proud of what I've done, but there's more work to do. I know that it's not over for me. There's a future for me in Arizona, whether that be in politics or elsewhere. I'd make a great newscaster. You know, there's a lot of futures that are
Come down anytime. Senator, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful to be here and so glad that you're covering this story. And I do hope that as we're moving forward, we'll be looking at legislative pay and what we're doing to make sure that working class people are the ones who are representing us.
Appreciate your time. And just a reminder, you can follow this interview and any others on 12 Plus that you've seen on the air.